My name is Atiqah, and currently, well, I usually say I'm a student in Seoul National University, but I'm graduating next week. So I'm a expected graduate of Seoul National University, and I've been here doing my PhD for about 6 years now. I'm doing in my major is in vocational education, and I've been here for about 7 years total, 6 years on my PhD and 1 year in my language school. And right now, I'm just doing a bunch of things like I teach English too to kids here. I teach Korean online too to people in Brunei. And for that one, I've just started like last year during lockdown lah sebenarnya. Yeah. So for survival Korean, for that one is much more practical, I guess, after the world opens. Like after the world opens and you are able to travel to Korea, it's helpful if you could speak to like a Korean, right? Like to a taxi driver. So that one is catered to people who would like to visit Korea, um, say in the near future. And I will teach about the important phrases that you would use once you arrive, like starting from arrival to Korea, like how to find directions, how to talk to the taxi drivers. Taxi drivers, right, in Korea, once you say a certain thing, like usually they will ask like, 어디에서 왔어요? Like, where did you come from? And say, if you say Brunei, they will start talking a bunch of things for that 1 hour trip to Seoul. So there like the purpose of this course is to be able to communicate with people who are like just in the daily life of Korea, like traveling in Korea, like the taxi drivers, the hotel receptionists, I guess, the people who sell things. Say Brian likes to go to Myeongdong and places like that, right? To be able to bargain, to be able to like ask and ask them too, like what's the weather like today, just simple ones, but it's actually useful. Like for me, whenever I come to my lab, right, the first thing they would ask, "Pop 먹었어요? Have you eaten?" And that's part of the culture because in Brunei we seldom say "Parah orang," so we say, "Hey, apa kabar?" Gitu kan. Tapi to Korean, like Korean say, "Pop 먹었어요? Have you eaten?" Literally, that's like asking how you are today for them. That's part of the culture. It's something that is not really taught in the books. Um, Maybe some lah, tapi it's not really embedded in curricular books if you buy it on your own. And yeah, that's something like that. I think the procrastination of doing my master's thesis got me into Korean culture. Now, you know how you know that your mind wants to do homework, I mean assignment and thesis during masters, right? I did that by watching Running Man in the library of my university back in the UK. And I watched, like, I was late from everyone. Like, while um the whole Bruneian has already watched until about season episode like 100 and stuff. I started from episode 1 when I had to do my thesis, to be honest. So I was binge watching it. It got me into the Korean culture, but I never actually thought that I would be here. What got me into the language is because I have to pass it. I got the Korean government scholarship, and part of it was you have to pass a 1 year language here. If you don't pass, they said they will send you back home. So it was a bit stressful, and I have to like do Korean starting from Hangul in Korea. And I don't understand any Korean at all at that time. And I had to pass it. It was so much pressure. Um, and yeah, like I learned Korean language through my language school. It's much more translatable to like Malay than English. Because I know a lot of people, we think in English, like Bruneians, we are bilingual, right? And the youngsters, even, they are much more comfortable speaking in English. But if you were to like literally translate English in your head to Korean, it doesn't come out nicely because English doesn't translate into Korean perfectly. Is they have opposite sentence structure. But most of the time, even the nuances of a Korean language is much more similar to like Malay Brunei, let's say, for example, right? So what they don't say, what they don't teach in books is that things like macam yatahkan, like yatah, yatabahkan. In Korean, we also have that. Like my lab mates will literally tell me, like it depends on how you say it. The kronika, it can be like so if you speak it in a context or in a tone, intonation. Tapi if you're talking sama-sama macam bergosip and somebody said kronika, that means kan, ba. Or kronika, like owl, it's much more similar to the Bruneian nuances sebenarnya. So I usually use this a lot more Bruneian with my students because they could understand it more rather than it being translated to English. I think maybe one particular thing that is unique about this language is the fact that it shows how familial the people are, like the society is. Because whenever they say my father lah, father family members lah, they don't say my. They don't say my father, my mother. They say our father, our mother, like that. Uri, literally. So they would never say, oh, je abuji. It's always uri abuji, our father, or the country. They never say my country. They will always say our country, like that. And I think it's something that is macam it shows orang punya patriotism to also macam their like familial kind of ties within the language itself. And that's, I think, something that is unique about it, considering Bruneian language or maybe Bruneian, we also do like tani, Tapi we don't say bapak tani. Right? Kalau negeri kita ni, okay lah, right? Tapi even for them, like, for father, mother, grandma, semua tu terang tak, kita ni like, our, I guess that's something that is unique of that language. Depends on what we're aiming for. Like if you are learning the basics of Korean in order to be able to be qualified for a Korean language, like say for topic exam, and topic exam is something that is like IELTS or TOEFL. It is needed to go to work here. It is needed to go into universities here. If that's your aim, then it is more recommended that you start watching the Korean news. And it's much more formal, the news. They don't use certain words in speaking, in daily life at all, in conversations. It's really, really formal. But exams, it will get you like through the exams because most of the passages and most of the listening, it comes from the news. But if you're just like learning it for fun, then you can just continue to watch whatever Korean dramas that you are already watching now. Or macam, say, if you want to be able to read lahat, it's probably better to start reading from webtoons, like manhwa. They don't call it manga, right? They call it manhwa. Yeah. So you can start reading from webtoons online. There's a lot of Korean webtoons. And the sentences are short too. Sentences are short, and it's something that is used in daily life to allow macam webtoons. So that's something that could get you start like understanding Korean much more faster because it's short sentences.